Well, we're back again, guys, for another Gold Coast fishing tips video. This video itself is going to be a little bit longer than usual, and it is a highly requested one. Like over the years, I have fished the Seaway a lot. This is going to be fishing the Gold Coast Seaway. I fished the Seaway a lot, and I've caught a lot of different fish in the Seaway. Some nice big tailor, jewfish, a few jacks, a lot of trevally, sharks, and all sorts of things. But what I'm mainly going to do today is just run you through some of the techniques I know work quite well, and lures. Couple of things on bait, but mainly this is mainly going to be about lures. Sorry guys, I'm not feeling very well, so bear with me as we go through this. Yeah, a couple of things on bait around the pipe for jewfish, but this is mainly going to be a lure one for the Seaway. So we'll start off with wintertime. Generally in the Gold Coast is a beautiful time of year. Not too much rain about. The water's usually very nice and clean, and there's usually a lot of squid about. There's one thing I know a lot of people don't do is chase squid in the Seaway at night. It's one of my favourite ways to catch squid, because usually you catch a bit bigger, like nice size squid. You don't get a lot, but the ones you get are usually generally nice squid. And the way I like to do it is head out to the Seaway about an hour before high tide, and use like a 3-inch, 3.5-inch squid jig like this. I like this thing with the legs, these work well. But just a 3.5-inch squid jig. Usually it doesn't really matter on the colour, and drift along the south wall. Basically, I like to fish, where the main steps are on the pipe. If you come back to the western side a bit, just start fishing the corner as it starts turning around and heading down the main channel to the south, just in the corner. Drifting around that corner there. Okay, over the last hour of running tide at night, casting lures like this basically up towards the rocks. Bit of a judgment call here, but cast them up to the rocks and just wind them very slowly as they sink down the rock wall. Squid love hanging around rocks. And as you're drifting along slowly, as the tide's dropping off, just casting this up towards the rocks and just working it down the edge of the rocks. That's all I do, and you get some nice squid doing that, and no one does it. Like I said, you don't get a lot of squid, but generally the ones you will get are going to be good squid. So that's one thing. And even speaking at night time for squid fishing, same deal, but this time wave break. North wall and south wall of wave break on the outside edges, okay? Not an inside little short bit in the middle, on the outside edges. Drift along those rock walls at night with smaller jigs. It's only very shallow. The south wall is shallow, north wall is a bit deeper. So just with the small jigs, once again, cast them towards the rocks, work them down the rocks, or along the edge of the rocks. Another way to find good squid. You can see this one's all a bit torn and fallen apart already. It's caught a few. I can't remember the brand of this thing. It's ugly, but I must admit, squid like it. Works well. Okay. The next thing. Okay, tailor. There have been a few tailor around already so far this season. It's only early, it's only just starting. The water's starting to clear up. And there have been a few on the Seaway already. My favourite thing to do in the Seaway for tailor, this is by boat. Unfortunately, it's more the north wall than the south wall. Is a couple of different ways to do this. You can go out to the end of the north wall in a little bit of swell, run in tide. It's got to be a run in tide. I like the last half of the run up tide, so it's fairly clean and fairly high. And just cast slugs towards the rocks into the white water, and just work them really fast back towards away from the rocks, out of the white water. Just wind slugs. Very simple, very easy fishing. Cast up, wind back through the white water. That's a good way to find a few tailor. A lot of small ones, but you do get some keepers, and it's not a bad way to find an occasional trevally and stuff too. Okay, but the main way I chase tailor, and this is the fun way, is once again go near the end of the wall, or just inside the end of the wall, north wall. Run in tide, last couple of hours run in tide. But you need a little bit of swell to do this. This is the catch. You need a bit of swell breaking along the north wall. You need white water breaking up onto the rocks. This is where this method works well. Poppers like this. killer lure, the big face, okay? When you're drifting along the wall and you see you wait for the white water, when you see the waves coming in, they're breaking up onto the rocks, cast the lure. I know this is going to sound strange, but cast the lure into the white water on the rocks. And as the water falls down, the lure will come down and it'll fall straight off the edge, the sharp edge of the rocks. That's where most of the big tailor are hunting, right up hard against that edge. So you cast up with the white water onto the rock, the lure will get washed off the rock straight down onto the edge. Okay, and then when you see it down there, you just bloop, bloop, 2 or 3 bloops right in close. Keep it in close and just real big bloops. With these, they push a lot of water, make a lot of noise. And you work about the first 5, maybe 10 feet max between this coming off the deep edge, off the rocks, the sharp edge, to about 10 feet out. That's where you work this really hard, bloop, bloop, bloop. Push a lot of water, make a lot of noise. That's a good way to find big tailor. That's an awesome way to find big tailor. I see a lot of guys drifting along there and casting, 5 feet short or 10 feet short of the rocks and winding back thinking they're tailor fishing. But they're missing out in the best part. They're missing the best water. The best water is hard up against the rocks, right along the sharp edge where it drops off. So for this to work, you've got to cast up onto the rocks with the white water. Let the white water wash your lure down when the water drains off the rocks, and then bloop it from the hard edge out, about 10 feet. Then after that, if you haven't been hit, just wind up fast, cast and do it again. Okay? That's an awesome way to find tailor. And you drift along from basically just inside the end of the north wall, right down to the corner. You can do the whole wall, just casting with the white water. Another way to do it is stick baits. I use a lot of stick baits doing it too. Decent sized ones, I'd say. Oops, the eye just fell out. Hey. Okay, like this. Same deal. Instead of blooping, you can actually just give these a rip. So just get them like dancing a bit, so they're not coming straight at you. Just dance and then give it a little bit of a pause, and then dance it, make it zigzag and dance, and just make noise basically. 5 feet to 10 feet from the rocks. If it doesn't get hit, wind up quick. Okay, so that's catching a few tailor. Oh, that does work on the south wall too, but out off the tip of the south wall, in amongst where the waves are breaking, there's a lot of white water. The poppers will work there, but you want to be working the white water. Even if you're off the rocks, cast out into the white water and just work them right back to the edge. That's a good way to find a few nice tailor. What else we got here? I've got little notes over here so I don't forget. Okay, trevally. Trevally is a big one. A lot of guys like chasing trevally, and they are a lot of fun on light gear. Okay, there's several different ways to chase trevally. You can do it at daytime or nighttime. Generally, I chase them at nighttime when I'm chasing dewies on the pipe. So when I've got live baits down, I'll chase a few trevally for fun while I'm waiting for a dewey. And what works well for me is when I'm anchored on the pipe or spot locked on the pipe, chasing dewies, I use stick baits. I put stick baits on a smaller rod. Like here's one of the flathead rod basically. 2500 reel. It's a 3 kilo stick. I usually run about a 20-pound leader, just you're chasing trevally, and some of these are decent fish. And just tie on stick baits. Well, that's one of the new Shimano things. Looks good. See how it goes. But they're basically stick baits. And as you get near the top of the tide, fishing the pipe, like I think it's about the last hour, of a night time, all of a sudden you'll see splashes on the water in the moonlight or the lights, and you'll hear splashing. They're trevally. Stick baits. Just cast them out around and work them fast. Don't twitch them or anything. Just wind fast, get them skipping on the surface. And the amount of GTs and big eyes you catch doing that at night time, it's awesome. It's fun. A lot of the small ones you'll get on that gear, and it's good fun. It's easily. Every now and again you'll have one hit and you'll go straight to the pipe and break you off. You know that was a good one. But a lot of fun. You will go through a few stick baits, but it's good fun. The other way to do it as well is daytime. Once again, same sort of method as chasing the tailor, but don't cast up on the rocks. Generally, I just cast the stick baits into the edge of the white water from the rocks, like the edge of the white water is usually about 10 feet out to the edge, and then from the edge of the white water back to the boat, just in that clear water, I skip the stick baits. And that's usually Trevally Alley. That's where we get most of the trevers doing it. So you cast in close and work the white water for the tailor, and from the white water out to the boat, you cast the stick baits and work them fast as trevally. Same, just drifting along the north wall. In the last couple of hours running tide. This time of year or all through winter. And the other way a lot of guys get them is micro jigs. So little slow pitch jigs. So basically, once again, last hour running tide. Okay, go to the pipe and then drift along the pipe. And when you drift along, or not drifting, or even just motor along the pipe, look at your sounder and you'll see the pipe. The pipe's like, you'll have bottom here and you'll see a bit of a lump. Okay, and then above the lump you usually see schools of fish. Most of the time they're trevally. Micro jigs. Okay, just small micro jigs, drop them down and work them back through those bait schools. Be careful around the pipe, you will lose a few of these if they hit the pipe and snag. But it's an awesome way to find a lot of trevally, and generally a bit bigger ones. And doing that too, occasionally hook a kingfish and other critters and, get smoked. It's good fun though. It's definitely worth a try. And the other way for trevally is same stock standard. Got your slugs here. Okay, same as tailor fishing. But for the daytime, if you're down on the rocks or in the boat in the seaway and you see them in the middle of the seaway, last couple of hours running tide, splashing on the surface, just get some heavy slugs for casting distance. Just cast them out and just why not the clappers back through the bait schools, back through the trevally schools. Easiest way to catch trevally and a lot of fun. Okay, the next method, this is what most people are waiting for, is fishing a pipe for jewfish. I know a lot of people can do it successfully, but a lot of people can't. They can't work out how to get jewies off the pipe. Okay, there's a couple of different ways here. First of all, the bait. Most of the time for the best bait for fishing the pipe, we like pike. So usually about half tides, last couple of hours running tide, we'll head to North Wave Break Islands. You got the sandbar there, it's got a big grass bank, or around Crab Island, or off South Straddie, straight across, or just north of Wave Break. There's a bank called Perry's Bank, it's a big grass bank. Any of those banks, last couple of hours of running tide, once again, little tiny rod, like your flathead rod or something, and little jerk baits. Like I use things like this. This is one of my favourites. Well, that's a double clutch, expensive pike lure, but deadly on pike. Just little lures like this. And what we do is we trawl them around these very shallow grass banks when the water's clean. So drop them back probably not too far, 50, 60 feet behind the boat, 50 feet or so. Doesn't have to be a long way back. But the most important part about this is when you're trolling, just don't hold your rod there and have these swim through the water like that. They're never going to get eaten. They never get hit. Whole idea of these little jerk baits is what the name says. So with your rod, while we're trolling, I've got the rod out here, I'm just driving, your hand on the wheel, you're driving, you've got your rod here. Just rip it forward, okay? Let's try and do a bit of action. So I'm driving the boat, the rod's here, I'm just ripping it forward with my hands like so the tip's bouncing forward. So while you're trolling, so what this does is the lure jumps forward really quickly, then you stop and pause the rod, the lure will fall back, okay? And as the lure stops and falls back, that's when the pike hit it. So while you're trolling, just rip it forward, drop your rod tip back, wait a couple of seconds, rip it forward, wait a few seconds, drop it back, just give it a pause every now and then, the pike will hit it. So instead of just trolling nicely, you rip it forward fast, then you drop it back, pause, then rip it forward, drop it back, pause, rip it forward, okay? So get a really aggressive action going with your little pike lures. If they like it, just don't be boring and hold it, it's not going to work. And just do that as you're driving around the grass banks and you will pick up pike. You're only going to need 4 or 5 to gather pike. And so once you've got your pike, and the tide should be hopefully last hour and run in or close to the top of the tide. Depending if you've got an anchor or electric, what you do is find the pipe, what we do is find the pipe. Then we motor along it until we find schools of fish, life. And when you find life, we motor off it quite a bit. Probably once again, 60 to 80 feet off it. And hit spot lock or drop an anchor. Okay, so we're not fishing on top of the pipe. Then what we got, so you want a nice at least 15 kilo to 24, most of us run 24, because trying to get these fish out of the pipe can be hard. But this is a 15 kilo outfit, give you an idea. It's just my little jig stick. And the rig. So, bit of common sense, use a hook size, the size of your pike. Some pike can be quite small, some can be quite large. Don't matter the size of the pike, just match your hooks to the size of the pike. And the rig is very simple, two snelled hook rigs, two snelled hooks. Damn, I'm having a good day. Two snelled hooks, okay? Short trace, I usually run a 60-pound trace. Swivel, and then a sinker. I'll run a sinker usually double the size of that, usually a size 6, no, bigger than that, 8, probably about an 8, okay? And when you hook your pike up, make sure they're live. This one through the nose, this one just lightly through the back, okay? Drop it under your boat, even though the pipe's back there, you drop it down with a bit of current, and just hold it, and you'll actually feel it lifting up. And then what we do is just free spool a bit more line, let the sinker on line, and basically you drop it to the bottom, it starts lifting up, you free spool it, and what you're doing is you're bouncing your bait back towards the pipe. Okay, you're using the current to bounce your bait back. I hope you understand that. And that's a good way to find jewies. Once you get to the roughly get to the pipe, or you think you're at the pipe, or you can feel your line rubbing on the pipe and no hits, wind up, do it again. Okay? Just wind up and do it again. So that's one way to do it, is bounce your bait back. And you do that until the tide is basically slack water. And when the tide's basically slack, up anchor or stop your spot lock, go find the top of the pipe, look around the pipe, roughly with the area, until you find life, and then drop your bait straight down. Like if the pipe's here, you want to be fishing just off to the side of it, either side. Okay, and drop your baits down. And fish just straight above it with slack water. It's another good way to find jewie. But doing it that way too, that's the most dangerous way. Because you haven't got the currents or anything. Like if you're sitting back here, you hook and you're bouncing your baits back and the pipe's here, you hook a jewie, you're trying to pull him away from the pipe. So generally you can get him. Not all the time, but some of the time, most of the time you can get him. When you're fishing above and you hook one, as soon as he feels weight, you know something's wrong, he goes under that pipe. And you're trying to pull up, and once he goes under and you're sitting here, you're pulling your line past the pipe, you break off, they just do you like a dinner. Occasionally you can get one out, but you will lose quite a lot of gear fishing that way. Okay, so just remember that. The other way that I used to fish a pipe years ago, okay, this is a good way too, it's a fun way, is if you guys have got downriggers. Like that's a nice big fancy one, but if you guys have got downriggers, okay? This is a good easy way. Once again, snelled hooks, 60-pound trays, no sinker, okay? And I usually run about a 3 to 5 metre long leader, and then FG knots with braid or whatever. You're going to want at least an 8-pound ball, 8 to 10-pound ball. And when you're fishing with a downrigger, once again, this is fishing high current. So you can fish the Seaway all tide from top to bottom, all current with a downrigger. Because jewies are always there, they're not going to leave. Once again, anchor the boat away, okay? But you have to really think about this, how far you're going to anchor your boat away. Or it's easier with a spot lock than it is an anchor. Say you take your boat out 50 feet from the pipe, hit spot lock. Okay, set up your downrigger on the back, put your ball on, put your pike on your snelled hooks, okay? Run out what you think you're 50 feet away. So run out 40, 45 foot roughly of line off your reel. So your 5 metre leader, plus some braid, and then connect it to your little clip, okay? Drop this down until it hits the bottom. When it hits the bottom, then wind it up like a couple of turns. So it's sitting about a metre off the bottom. And that way, your bait in high current is going to be sitting at just about a metre off the bottom, probably a couple of metres from the pipe, and just sitting there swimming happily in the current. And that's a great way to find a jewie, and a good jewie. And the best thing about downriggers is when you hook up with these things, your line pulls straight out of here, then it's you against the fish. There's no big heavy sinkers on it, there's nothing else to worry about. It's you against the fish, and it's a good way to find jewies, and it's easy fishing, and you can fish all currents. That's a great thing about the down riggers. It doesn't matter what the current is. And the next thing, people always ask me what tides to fish. I generally fish tide changes, high or low water, but mainly high water. But I've got a friend who fishes the Seaway a lot, and he's a master at it, and he prefers to run out tide. And he kicks everyone's ass, even mine. He's brilliant at it. But he fishes a run out tide, and he anchors away from the pipe, and he's always bouncing his bait back. Okay? So he anchors away and bounces away back, and he only fishes a run out tide. So don't be too concerned on what tide it is, because you'll get jewies all tied to the pipe. It's just you just got to work out how you want to fish it. And the last thing I'm going to talk about quickly is once again jewies, but on lures. I've got another friend who does very well, but he fishes tide changes. He uses soft plastics like this. So 5-inch plastics with a nice soft tail. Usually a 1/2 ounce jig head with around about a 5/0 hook sticking out of this. And your fish tide changes. You'll use his electric, you'll find the pipe, and he just idles along over a tide change along the pipe. Just sets his course and just idles along the pipe very, very slowly, casting and bouncing these along the bottom next to the pipe. So just bouncing these along the bottom next to the pipe. He loses a little bit of gear, but damn, he catches some fish on them. Gets lots of schoolies, not many big fish, but he has got them like 17 or 18 kilos, his biggest, but he gets a lot of schoolies just bouncing this along the bottom, okay, over a tide change. Just a 5-inch grub, not grub, paddle tail. That one's not a paddle tail, but I'm not sure what that is, it's different. But anyway, something with a nice soft tail, a lot of action. And he does like colours like this. He likes to, represent bait fish. So it looks sort of like a mullet. He's got another one that looks brown and longer. It looks like a pike. So if it looks like a bait fish, roughly a 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce jig head, depending on the size of your lure, and just cast it along the pipe and work it along the bottom next to the pipe. Good way to find a few fish. And most of his fishing, surprisingly or not, guys, is not daytime. He does this at night. Okay, so nighttime, soft plastics over a tide change also works very well. I don't know, I think that's about it. We might do another talk on the Seaway another date for sharks, because I know there's a good way to catch a lot of sharks in the Seaway. That'll be a chat for another time actually. This one's been going long enough. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoy that. Hopefully you'll learn something from it. Try some of these tips and techniques I talked about, and you will have a bit of fun in the Seaway. Thanks guys, see you in the next video.